So we are here this morning to provide a significant update pertaining to the 1995 rape and murder of Nacole Smith. We have Nacole Smith's family, who is here with us today, who has been incredibly resilient, persistent, and relentless in working with our detectives in solving what's been a 26-year mystery to this point. Detectives have put forth a substantial amount of work. I think I've spoken previously as to the amount of work that goes into homicide investigations. Just from an evidence perspective, across the nation, about 147 hours goes into just a regular homicide investigative file. So you can imagine in a 26-year investigation as to how that number would be compounded. There are literally boxes and boxes and boxes of data and reports and evidence that has been analyzed as it pertains to this case, and certainly is a testament to the very hard work of some extremely skilled and experienced detectives in the Atlanta Police Department. And you're going to hear from some of them shortly, one of them being Vinny Vasquez, who is still a part of our Atlanta Police family as a homicide detective. Vinny has worked hundreds of homicide investigations as the lead detective, and has been a fundamental component to our successes here in the Atlanta Police Department in aiding as a foundation as to how we do work in our business here in the City of Atlanta Police Department. And one of the second that you will hear from is Detective DeMeester, who is on our current cold case team. He is also a very experienced detective within our homicide unit. Detective DeMeester has led and spearheaded hundreds of investigations as it pertains to homicides as well. So this has just been a culmination of extremely skilled and experienced detectives that have put forth some great work in being able to get us to this resolution today. So I'm going to let you hear from him. We're going to start first with one of the first responding officers that was on scene at the time in which this incident occurred. Thanks.
Yes, my name is Detective Reginald Boone, and I responded that day to the scene. But more importantly, we have to look at the Atlanta Police Department as a whole. The detectives and the officers, everybody who has touched this case has stuck with it for the full length, the 26 years. I remember coming back out to the scene that night after I got off from work, and I worked with Detective Thomas Townsley, who was the first detective for this case. And we stayed out in the woods digging holes, looking for evidence all of that night. And then he worked the case up until the time he died back in 2017. But all these other detectives, Vince Velasquez, Calhoun, you can name them, have put their heart and souls into this case. And it just goes to show you how committed the Atlanta Police Department is to solving cases. And it's not just a number to us, it's something that we put our hearts and souls into every time we work a case.
Good morning. Vince Velasquez, retired Atlanta PD. Homicide. I think what would be helpful is to put these cases in perspective, I think, so everybody understands how this began. So June 7th, 1995, Nacole Smith, 14 years old, is walking to school in the morning with her sister, forgets something, turns around to go back home, takes a cut through the woods, and she's confronted by a man in the woods who brutally assaults her, rapes her, and shoots her 2 times in the face and kills her. So this investigation was massive in 1995. The Atlanta Police Department pulled out all stops. They interviewed hundreds of people. They brought 2 recruit classes out to canvass the neighborhood. And they ended up taking blood samples from at least 50 people. There is a DNA profile that was obtained in 1995. So this case went cold, as some cases do. And we're no stranger to that. So in 2002, I reopened this case on my own. I started looking at it to see what I could do to interview people to breathe some life into this case. I was unsuccessful for 2 years. 2004, we get a call, we have a forensic match. So what that means is someone assaulted a young girl in East Point, Georgia, 13 years old, exactly 9 years and 13 days later. As a result of that, another profile was obtained, and we have a forensic match. So that means Nacole's killer was back. So to put in perspective what we did, not just as a unit, but as the DA's office and the cold case squad collectively, we aired this on national TV, America's Most Wanted. We put a billboard up at Greenbrier with the suspect's composite, because this rape victim now could tell us what he looks like. Many of you have seen the composite. Black male, round glasses, gap tooth. So we put a lot of effort into trying to identify this person. My time came to an end in 2017. I was unsuccessful in solving this case. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars testing DNA, traveled around the country, interviewed hundreds of people. But upon my retirement, I passed this case on to Detective DeMeester, who took my role in the complex cold case squad when I left. I've been in constant contact with him since then. Myself and my team, we took this football as far as downfield as we could. We could not do anything else with it. This guy right here, Scott DeMeester, scored the touchdown. So there's a lot of science, there's a lot of technology involved, and let him come up and explain that. But if you've ever seen a case that the Atlanta Police Department put any effort into, this was it. This case has not died. As you can see, the family's here. It's a very emotional time for them. But not only were we in constant contact with Nacole's mother, we were also in constant contact with the rape victim. East Point Police are here. They represent that investigation, but we have been working this jointly, East Point and Atlanta PD, since 2004. So I think right now, I think Scott should come up and explain the science. And if you have any questions later, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Good morning. My name is Scott DeMeester, common spelling Scott, last name spelled D-E-M-E-E-S-T-E-R. I'm a homicide detective, assigned to the cold case squad here for City of Atlanta Police Department. Just a little context, I'm 3 months older than Nacole. I was a freshman in high school when this happened, so I was unaware of this when this incident occurred. But when I came into the homicide unit in 2010, talking with the veterans like Vinny and A.B. Calhoun, David Quinn, Brett Zimbrick, Nacole's case constantly came up. So obviously when Vinny left and all of the seasoned cold case detectives retired and left, I took that torch. I was always looking for new ways, new potential investigative leads. To piggyback on what Vinny said, yeah, Vinny retired, Boone retired, but they would constantly call in and check in on the case. Always looking for new investigative leads, started to look into the possibility of trying to identify the suspect utilizing genealogy and ancestry databases. The command staff at the Atlanta Police Department, the mayor's office, they made the financial commitment to allow us to do that with the help from some outside genealogy. It took a little over 3 years, but we were able to develop a person of interest. We were able to obtain a sample of his DNA from some evidence that we had, and got word just after Christmas that the GBI forensics lab was able to match his DNA profile to the DNA profile obtained in Nacole's investigation and the unsolved rape of the victim in East Point. And to piggyback off what Vinny said, a lot of effort from a lot of people from '95 until today, you know, to include several detectives in the Atlanta Police Department. Deputy Chief Poplin from East Point's not here, but he played a crucial role in this investigation as well, working with his victim. And like I said, it was a support from a lot of people. I would not have been able to do what I did without help from a lot of people. I was just glad to be able to make that phone call to Ms. Smith. It was an emotional phone call, but hopefully with this information, it'll hopefully be able to bring some closure and some peace to Nacole and Nacole's family and the community in Zone 4, Southwest Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you. So once again, you can see just the incredible persistence and the resilience and just the relentless follow-through, not only from these detectives, but also a family that's endured something like this for 26 years. We can only imagine as to how that might feel today, to being able to get some type of answers as to what has happened here. Our detectives, once again, have worked in partnership with a number of external entities to bring today possible. This would not have been possible without the collaborative efforts of East Point, without our collaboration and partnership, our current partnership with the District Attorney's Office, as well as some additional external partnerships as well. We are going to bring forth the family at this time to provide some insights, if you're willing to.
Good morning. And this is a hard one for me.
Ms. Smith, I just want to let you know that I'm sorry that we had to meet under these circumstances.
It's okay.
But I feel like we didn't get the closure that we needed, but we got some kind of resolution. Okay? And I'm just thankful for you.
Let me say a couple words. So I just want to just put this in perspective. So this is Betty Brown. This is our victim from East Point. They have formed a connection over the years, and she was 13 years old at the time, but as you can see, it's a very emotional time. And, you know, kudos for her for being brave enough to stand up here, express how she feels, and connect with Nacole's mom. I think that's the most important story here. And I think this sends a message to the community that we don't give up. 26 years, it could have been 36, you know. Until I took my last breath, I was going to work this case. So was Demeester, so was Adrian Love, so was East Point, everybody that's here today. So you've probably seen me with her over the years a lot. We have done a lot of stuff together. Obviously not Ms. Brown, because we keep our victims' names private. But she is no stranger to the camera, you know, and I think, you know, she understands how hard we worked, but we did it because of her. I don't know how many times she's called me in the middle of the night, am I lying? and yelled at me. We stopped talking to each other so many times. We became friends again, and now we're like, we call each other brother and sister. But go ahead and just say a few words.
Today for me is a bittersweet moment. I never imagined this person to be deceased. So many unanswered questions that I had for him that I could never answer or get answers. But I would never say it was closure for me, because I'll live with this pain for the rest of my life. Just taking one day at a time. Those are my plans. Just much more, nothing much I can say right now. My feelings is just all over the place. I don't know what I'm feeling right now. But I tell you, I'm in so much pain. And it's not a pill could take that pain away. I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance. Can't do this. Can't do it.
I never thought that I will be here speaking. I don't even know what to say. This has been a part of my life that I have hidden for a while because I just did not want to live in that pain anymore. But I'm here I'm not okay with the situation on how long it took us to get here, but I'm happy that I'm finally here. That he's no longer out there able to do the things to me and Nacole, to others. I'm so conflicted because on one hand I want to rise above and not let this control me, but on the other hand I want his family to suffer because he's not here to suffer. I want them to feel the pain that my family has felt for years, knowing that that man that you loved, that you appreciated, that you respected, did something so horrible to me and Nacole. And I want you to live in that. I want you to wear that like I did, like I do every day of my life. I want you to wear that. You know, it's bittersweet. This is a bittersweet moment. And I'm mad that I didn't get that opportunity to face him, to look him in his eyes and have him look at me and relive and to face me. But I just have to take what I've been given. And I thank you, Detective Velasquez and Detective Papa, for sticking with me all these years and checking on me to make sure that I'm okay. I appreciate you because I needed that. That's it for me.
All right, prior to getting into any questions, we're going to bring forth the District Attorney's Office for a few words.
Good morning. My name is Adrienne Love, and that's Adriane, common spelling of love, Love. I am the Deputy District Attorney for the Colden Capital Case Unit for the District Attorney's Office, headed by District Attorney Fonnie Willis. And beside me is Chief Senior Assistant District Attorney Juliana Peterson, who heads our Saki unit. I have prosecuted cases for nearly 20 years now, and under DA Willis's administration, I have been placed at the head of our Colden Capital Case Unit. And the number of years that I have been serving as a prosecutor, serving the citizens of the state of Georgia, is emblematic of the type of experience and the type of prosecutor DA Willis has sought to place in the position such as this. Since I have started in this role as head of the Colden Capital Case Unit, I have worked with Detective DeMeester, tirelessly watched as he has relentlessly pursued leads in this case. I'm happy that we're here today, that we have been able to gain some degree of closure for the family. But I can also say that this is the kind of case that underscores the need for the type of leadership and the type of collaboration that we have and that we see between the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and the Atlanta Police Department and the other agencies within Fulton County. And this case is emblematic of how we will work going forward and how we will continue to work. I'm happy and I'm proud to stand before you with these amazing people behind me who have actually made this come to fruition. I'm going to let Ms. Peterson have a few words because there's still more to be done.
Good morning, everyone. My title is Deputy District Attorney over the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative Unit, and our role and our mission is specifically to handle the backlog of sexual assault kits that have never been tested. Our initial work has been completed with the backlog that was found at Grady Hospital. that left us with approximately 169 DNA results from those sexual assault kits that our office has then gone on to investigate and hopefully prosecute, many of those being serial offenders. However, the work is not over, and cases like this show exactly why it is so incredibly important that we continue this work. The incredible work of the Atlanta Police Department in following the science and making sure the DNA was tested is a huge part of why exactly we're here today. And that goes on to show why it's so important that under the leadership of Fonnie Willis and partnering with incredible agencies like the Atlanta Police Department, we have to keep doing the work. We have more sexual assault kits that have to be tested. At the GBI alone, there are over 2,400 sexual assault kits for Fulton County alone from the 1980s and 1990s that must be tested. There are more Nacole Smiths, there are more Betty Browns out there, and it's absolutely imperative that the state government recognize that and go forward and test these kits.
All right, we're going to get to questions here momentarily. Just as a recap, once again, at no point in this press conference have we uttered this suspect's name. This atrocious crime in which he's committed. We don't want to give any relevance to him as an individual. This is a despicable crime and crimes that have been committed. And this is all about the family and just their incredible resilience and the exceptional detective work that's been conducted by our cold case team. Our partnerships with all of these entities in which you've heard from today are stronger than they have ever been before. We continue to work in tandem with the district attorney's office on a weekly basis on cases such as this. This case is one example as to the type of work that we do day in and day out. That every case is looked at in a detailed and meticulous fashion, and we will have relentless follow-up and detail as it pertains to these types of investigations, of which one we will provide some further insight later on today. So at this time, we want to open for any questions.
Question. Can you confirm the suspect is deceased?
We can confirm the suspect is deceased.
Can you
This
tell us
time.
the time frame?
We can provide context on that.
I believe that he passed away on August 29th of 2021 here in Fulton County.
Can you tell us the particulars surrounding his death?
He was in hospice care for liver and kidney failure.
For the two detectives, obviously, with the emotion that we just saw from the family, you guys are just reflect on bringing this case to closure so many years later. Just what do you think that the audience just watched? Sorry.
Yeah, so this is a case that, so when we deal with victims' families, you know, we have Atlanta Victim Witness Assistance here. We rely on them, but we take that burden ourselves. Nacole's mother, Aquanella, and I have known each other since I opened this case in 2002. So she has gone through other tragedies, so you actually become part of their family. So her and I have formed a bond, but it's families feel hopeless. They feel like a case goes cold, nobody is looking at it. But this is a testament to that's just not the case in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta PD takes this thing seriously. There are a lot of open cases going back years, but that's what these guys do. Scott DeMeester and his crew, along with the DA's office, they look at these cases, and we're at an age of technology right now, and by using this is what these families are looking for. To explain ancestral DNA or genealogy to Mrs. Smith, it's useless. All she needs to know is that we solved the case. Now, unfortunately, this perpetrator's dead, so they're not going to have their day in court. But at least at some point in the future, she should be able to move on, hopefully, as with the rape victim. As you can see, it's, you know, for her to stand up here, who was raped at 13 years old in 2004, a grown woman, a mother herself, I mean, that's a testament to bravery, camaraderie, and understanding that we're all committed. Like, everybody up here is committed to this thing. So the hope would be you know, using this technology, this bright young detective right here can start solving some other cases, and maybe we'll have some more press conferences like this.
And detectives, for those who aren't familiar with how genealogy works, with that type of thing, would you?
We'll let him do
that. So obviously, everybody knew about that's how they solved the Golden State Killer murders. So when that kind of broke nationally, I remember sitting in the office and talking with my sergeant at the time and another detective, retired Brett Zimbrick, and the first case that came to our mind was Nacole Smith. It's like, we need to do this. We need to try this. And like I said, with the support of the command staff and the mayor's office, we got the funding and the time and the resources to pursue that investigative lead. It was not an easy task. It took over 3 years. It is very, very complicated to explain. I've tried to explain it to many people, and to a point, sometimes I confuse myself. That's why, you know, we leaned on some experts on that, helping us understand that and being able to build the tree and leading us to this subject as a person of interest. So it's not an easy task. It was very time consuming. Obviously, we've been very busy the past 2 years, so trying to manage working Nacole's case and also other cases. But luckily, we were able to come to a resolution.
What was it like to make that phone call?
I was actually on vacation, but I knew I had to make that phone call. It was like 2 days after Christmas, so it was an emotional phone call, especially for her, because you know, her and I had talked plenty of times, and I had the same relationship as Vinny had with her. Some days she loved me, some days she hated me. You know, she felt that we weren't doing enough or wasn't going fast enough, but I always told her and promised her that we were doing everything we could to try to find the suspect, and that it may take weeks, it may take months, it may take years, but that we weren't going to stop. Even if the genealogy route didn't work out, we were still looking for other potential ways to solve the case. So we would have never stopped. I've got 9.5 more years till I retire, so I would still be working on the case today.
Do you suspect there could be other victims connected to this perpetrator besides the two we've talked about today?
For right now, we don't have any evidence of that, no.
Was he convicted of the rape in East Point, or like how does that connection work with the genealogy?
He
Is
would
that just another of the same crime?
Yes, I don't. Vinny, you want to? It was just like he said, it was a DNA match. So yeah, so no, he was never charged or arrested. You want to? Okay.
No, at the time that the 2004 rape occurred, the match back to Nacole Smith came up, but his identity was still unknown. And that's why we're standing here now as a result of the tenacity of the Atlanta Police Department working to determine his identity. Until we have his identity, we cannot prosecute him, and so that's where we are now. Were he alive, we'd be, you know, preparing the case, putting it in front of a grand jury. But no, he was not prosecuted because though the sexual assault kit showed that the person who assaulted Betty Brown was the same person who raped and killed Nacole Smith, his identity was still unknown.
And was his DNA in the system from a crime, or was the DNA in the system for some other reason that DNA would be in the system?
When Nacole Smith was killed, a sexual assault kit was taken from her rape and murder, and that was taken to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's crime lab, and that DNA is put into the system, if you will. And as a result, subsequent crimes that have DNA that matches, when it is put into the system, then it will produce a hit. And it did, in fact, show that the person who assaulted Betty Brown was the person who assaulted and killed Nacole Smith. So the DNA profile exists, but without the name of the person to whom that profile belongs, we cannot prosecute an individual. We have to have the name.
And one last question on that. Was it a hit on his DNA, or was it on a familial DNA of him? A brother, a son, somebody else? And
Do you-
then did you extrapolate it out of that?
Oh, do you mean to come to where we are
Right,
today?
exactly.
That would be a Demeester question that I think we can stand here and talk about together.
Yeah, so using genealogy and ancestral databases, we developed him as a suspect. We were able to obtain his DNA from another piece of evidence that we had that's completely unrelated to these two cases. The GBI's forensics lab was able to extract his DNA from that piece of evidence, and they uploaded it into the system, and that's how we got the match to the two cases. But we had already developed him as a person of interest.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. I think there are not any additional questions there. We are going to allow the family, to go. I think they're already out, but
We're gonna have everybody
Okay.
exit. I'll take over.
Gotcha.
here.
All right.
I'm gonna have everyone exit for now.
Okay.
Media, if you can stay still for just one moment. And I'm gonna ask everyone to stop rolling for a minute, if you can. Give us a moment because we're actually going to talk about another case, one that I know that you all will be interested in. So if you can, just hold for just one moment while we set up for the next one. It won't take very long. I know we've got newscasts, but it won't take long at all. Give us 1 minute.